Hey y'all! How is everybody this morning? I got a couple things I want to talk about this morning. I wasn't here yesterday and some of you actually missed me. But I want to talk about a pet peeve. Do y'all ever go out to eat and you're done eating and you're talking to someone and the waitress just keeps on coming back? You know, it makes you want to say, honey, do you need me to pay some rent on this table? I met some friends yesterday at Cracker Barrel. Now, we stayed there a long time, but we paid for our food, and we left a tip. But every few minutes, they kept coming back to the table, saying, do you need anything else? Taking our plates. I mean, we could barely get our food to eat, and they were taking the plates out from under us. And I'm like, we're just talking. We're fine. We don't need anything. They kept coming back. Finally, we just got up, went out of that. Now, I know it was a while. It was a couple hours, but we got up and we went to my car and just sat and talked so that we wouldn't feel like we were bothering anybody. They were not so busy that they needed our table, but it drove me crazy. So if you're a waitress or a waiter and that happens to, you know, that you happen to be listening to this, then, you know, once you ask us like 19 times if we need any water, chances are we don't need any water. And I don't know, that may not bother any of y'all, but it was about driving me crazy. But anyway, got that off my chest. I just love it when God gives you something that you're going to need a little bit later and you don't know you need it. But we were sitting there and we were talking and eating, and then we got up. We ended up in my car and we were talking about old songs. Now, I don't know a lot of old songs. I don't know a lot of old Southern gospel. I didn't grow up listening to it all the time. My daddy played bluegrass music. Now, I can tell you about Mike Wiseman. I can tell you about Bill Monroe. I can tell you about Lester and Earl. And I can tell you about Uncle Pen. And I can tell you some fiddle songs that my dad used to play. One called Maiden's Prayer. And I listen. We listened to bluegrass music. We had picking and grinnings at our house all the time. I think I saw the Lefevres one time at the Oxford Civic Center when I was a little girl. My dad took me to see them. And the first gospel group that I ever went to see, actually go to a singing, was New Desire. Brenda Robinson and New Desire. My mama said, there's this group that's going to be at Liberty Hill, and I want you to come hear them. So I did. I went to Liberty Hill, and I'd never been to a singing like that before in my life. And as Brenda began to share her testimony that morning about how God had healed her from seizures, and they began to sing, I saw something that I'd never seen before. I'd been to singings, and I'd been to performances. I had been to bluegrass festivals, and I'd seen people, you know, get up and sing, but I had never been a part of anything any more anointed than what I was in that morning. They began to sing an old song called Jesus Gave Me a New Desire. And it was Brenda and her husband and Brooke and LeBron. And that was when I first met them. And I want you to know, if you've never heard them, you need to, because they're the real deal. And I want to tell you something. It blew me away. And I thought, you know, I love Southern gospel music. I never had any idea that God would call me to do this. But I knew that if he ever did, I wanted to be a part of something that was real, the way that she was a part of something that was real. The songs that she wrote from her heart, it touched me so much that morning. And, you know, she probably won't see this, but some of you might, and you may tell her that she has no idea what an impact that she made on me and my daughter from that first time that I heard her sing. And I see some of you write things to me on Facebook, and I feel so unworthy that you would say the things to me that you do. But I know what you mean, because I feel the same way about her. And anyway, back to God giving you something that you're going to need later. We were sitting at the table in Cracker Barrel and talking about music, and the lady kept coming over there wanting to know if we needed something. So finally we just got up and went to my car. And we were listening to some songs and stuff. And one of them started singing, there is peace in the time of trouble. There is peace in the midst of the storm. In the midst of the storm. There is peace though the world be raging, in the shelter of his arms. I know my voice is bad. It's early. But, you know, those words, there is peace though the world is raging. I mean, I was like, wow, in the shelter of his arms. So we wasn't talking about the storm. We didn't realize the storm was on its way, and they left and went their way. They ended up driving right through the tornado. She called me and she said, hey, or texted me and said, pray for us. I'm scared. Said, we're right here in the middle of it. The tornadoes passed through the interstate. I began to pray, and that song began to come to my mind again. You know, that's a song that I'm sure all of you know, but I didn't know it. And I don't reckon I'd ever heard it before, and I think it's just an old hymn. And I began to think about the words. There is peace in the time of trouble. Well, boy, they were in trouble. There is peace in the midst of the storm. You know what? God knew that storm was coming. He knew they were going to be going through it. And he gave me that message at that time that I needed as I prayed for them. And I'm so thankful for him. You know, I had Brad at home with me last night. It was so good to have my boy at home. I told him this morning, David had to work, so it was just me and Brad at home. And I told him this morning, I said, I wish I could convince you to stay. If you just stay with me, it just felt good. I'd text Ashley and ask her if they were okay, and she didn't answer me, but they don't have much service. They're in Virginia, and Josh posted something on his Facebook a little bit later, and I knew that they were okay, but it just feels good. I talked to Michael a little bit earlier, and of course, he was way too cool to come to the house last night and be with us. You know, he was like, oh, I'm fine, I'm watching the storm. And I get it, but you know, it just does feel good to have your kids with you when something like that's going on. But it's 7:42. I'm headed into work. I pulled over. I mean, I'm doing good with this video. I'm not videoing and driving anymore. I promised a few of you. I even had a friend last night that called me and said, I saw that the storms were coming your way, and if you got just a minute, I want to pray with you. That's a friend. You know, we got lots of friends, but there's some that are true. And boy, I want to tell you something. Don't you ever take one of them true ones for granted, because when you got one that's true, you want to keep them. And that meant more to me, honey, than you will ever know, that you called me to pray with me. I hope y'all have an awesome day, and remember to share him with someone. I think we got some more storms a coming, so y'all just join me in singing. We'll just sing in the shelter of his arms, because he's all we need.